As we say, we're going to talk a little bit about the cost of construction in Saudi Arabia. It's a numbers game, and as cost consultants with significant experience in the region, it's a difficult balancing act for us to manage. What you're going to see today is indicative range of costs. So these are not very, very specific. These are to aid the development discussions, to start the process. So a developer comes to us, how much roughly is our 3-star or 4-star brand going to cost us? How much is it going to cost us to get our F&B off the ground and up and running? But there are so many different influences that drive cost, and particularly in Saudi Arabia at the moment where everything is so busy and so congested. So whenever we look at our hospitality brands, we're looking at specifically locations. So Tarab talks about the gigas and the mega programs all over the country. They're so wide and varied that we can't just say a hotel in Riyadh is going to cost us X amount of money. We have to look at the influences. So we have to look at how we're buying these packages of work. So what our procurement route's going to be. So are we going to do semi-design and get that out to the market quickly, but where speed is important to the client? Or are we going to take our time? We're going to design our buildings fully. We're going to fully engage with our designers and possibly even bring in modular methods of construction or modern methods of construction, and bring our local supply chain from our contractors in early. Another massive consideration in the world that we're leaving for the future is around sustainability. So what standards are our operators looking for, and what standards are our developers willing to put their hand in their pocket for, to make sure that we're building sustainably, we're reducing waste, we're introducing smart energy, we're introducing smart ideas and tech, and we're creating a circular economy around recycling and reusable materials. That all influences cost that goes into the buildings. But what it does mean is that by choosing the right designers, and there are some of you in the room, by choosing the right designers who understand good design and sustainable design, that doesn't actually necessarily mean that we have to spend extra money. But what it does is enhances the life cycle of the buildings, and it ensures that the operators and the developers have a longer term return, with lower energy bills, lower water usage, water consumption, which all equals a better bottom line and a higher IRRs for your developments, which are critical. So what we as cost consultants attempt to do is it's a balancing act between when do we spend the money and when do we spend the money in the right way. So buying the right plant and equipment, buying good design is really important. So what we're trying to do is find effective solutions between all of the stakeholders. It is worthy mentioning that the giga programs are very much skewing what we're doing. So if we attempted to build a standard 4 or 5-star hotel in Riyadh, we could very accurately predict, based on the historical and the current data that we have in use, around what that cost should be in a broad sense of terms. But when we move out into the Red Sea, you touched on it, when we move out onto that coast, we're moving thousands of kilometers away from the traditional centers, the traditional manufacturing bases, the traditional supply chain bases. We have to transport a lot of that material, plant and equipment out there. We have to build something they're actually pretty special as well, so that adds to the cost per square meter. It's also very worthy of having a chat about our contractor friends, and again, I can see them in the room. The overstretched, the overstressed, the overworked, poor contractor at the end of the day who has to build these things. He is far too busy at the moment, so finding the right contractor, finding any contractor that's able to help us, to work with us as partners and suppliers, and to work with us in conjunction with the designers to get the right constructible solutions, the right methodology of delivery, to make sure that we deliver on time and within budget is vitally critical. The suppliers obviously have their supply chain partners as well, and we're facing a global crisis in terms of material supply, labor supply, and just sheer volume of work, all of which adds to our costs. There are a number of drivers that affect both hospitality and F&B. We won't talk about all of them, but the net to gross efficiencies are critical in what we do. So if we can make and design highly efficient buildings, we can drive value into the construction costs and make sure that we're buying those packages well, which makes for better IRRs and lower costs. Typical items that we're looking at, facades are a hugely important part of what we do in this country. We obviously have lots of sun, we have lots of sand. We have to make sure we get that right. Again, it affects the design. If we get the right facades, we can lower those energy costs and create benefit in use. So key drivers that we have to consider: cost per key and the cost per cover in these units. Very, very important. MEP services are vital in everything that we do. And again, we do struggle to find, we find we've got good design, but we do struggle with good contractors that are able to deliver the right solutions for us in the right places for the right prices. But MEP services being at least 30, possibly 40% of our cost of any building, it's really important that we get that right. But also considering the life cycle cost of the buildings, buying the right plant and equipment, making sure it works, and it's highly efficient. Construction methodology and program is one of the considerable functions of everything that we're doing at the moment, which is making sure that we're buying things in the right way. So modularization is a key consideration at the moment, which means that we can start to consider off-site manufacturing, making sure that we have our quality assurance in play. Everything's signed off and approved in factories. All we do is ship it, install it as quickly as possible. It doesn't necessarily equate to additional cost, but it does make sure that the buildings are built first, they're built right first time, signed off and approved, handed over efficiently and effectively. What it also equates to is faster programs, which everything we're trying to achieve now is to get things built quickly, but well, in line with the aspirations of Vision 2030, to make sure that we're delivering those programs. Terraces are a big consideration in the hospitality sector. So terraces and balconies add a significant portion of value to the sales pitch of the properties. But what they do is they increase the net areas, they increase the cost significantly. So finding a balancing act between those packages as well. Whenever we get to the F&B and the hospitality sector, we as a business develop and produce a lot of project management turnkey solutions for our clients in terms of the high-end F&B in Saudi Arabia. The key considerations in that sector are the scale and size of the back of house areas, the size of the kitchen areas, and typically we're looking at 60, 20, 20 in terms of the cost split between front of house, back of house, and FF&E and OS&E to deliver those packages. If we can strike that balance, it means that the client is achieving enough covers into his buildings, but also making sure that he's reduced his cost to the point that he can get the value out of his hospitality offering as quickly as possible. Very, very important. And obviously, the lean in more recent years has been around signature brands coming in from the Far East, coming in from Europe, coming in from London, making sure that the brand aspirations of the operators are aligned to make sure that the product is correct for the market. And we're now also starting to see some of those brands close because they haven't quite got that right. So, I guess in summary, under the auspices of His Royal Highness MBS, we are now witnessing. We're not even witnessing anymore. We're now fully feeling and experiencing the boom in the hospitality and F&B sector. It's a huge, huge market that's only going to continue to grow. But making sure that we get the right designers, the right operators, and the right contractors to collaborate and develop together to make sure that we drive value into those propositions and to make sure we hand those over quickly and efficiently for the right price is massively important. It's massively important that you as developers take on board that early advice. Don't speed into things. Get it right first time. Make sure that your budgets are right, and make sure your design is right. And we can close that out together and make sure that we all make money together. That's a short snap of cost in Saudi Arabia for hospitality and F&B. We are around all week. Happy to help you. It is a bit of a minefield, and sometimes the crystal ball of the quantity surveyor gets broken, but we're here to help as best we can. Thank you.